Our speaker tonight is Joseph Zhou from Bits and Bytes, and welcome, Joseph. Thank you.
All right.
Good luck.
All right. Okay, welcome, Joseph, to Startup Grind Tel Aviv.
Yeah, excited. Hi everyone, I'm Joseph. I'm the investment partner at Bits and Bytes. We're headquartered in Shanghai. We were actually pretty new. We were founded last year at this time, October, so we're like 1 year old baby.
So Bits and Bytes is an accelerator, but also doing investment.
Yes, we're China's first food tech accelerator plus venture capital.
Okay. Internationally?
Yeah, so this is how we do it. We run cohorts. We do two cohorts every year. Each cohort is 120 days. And when you get selected in, that means we will do equity investment to the projects. And for each project, we can invest up to 500,000 US dollar or the equivalent RMB. So we do currency. And we wanted to take no more than 15% of your equity, 1.5. Yes.
Okay, so we know a little bit about what Joseph is working on. I want to ask you about your impressions of Tel Aviv. You've been here a few days. What are your first impressions?
It's the good vibe. I mean, it's the people. Like, I've never seen such a strong community that almost everybody I met are entrepreneurs or wanting to be entrepreneurs or investors. So that's something really, really cool, and I just fall in love with this city.
I have to say, I've never seen so much excitement about a speaker, and very pleasant to see, unexpected, because food tech is not some big Israeli, well-known industry. But I saw people, pouncing on you, stealing you away one from the other. You didn't have a free moment during the networking.
Yeah, that was the good vibe. And then I just wanted to share, like, food tech is also not something really big in China, but we just wanted to bring up the awareness to build up the community. So the government has been pushing about food safety, food waste, and also the nutrition. China just surpassed the US to become the #1 country who has the most obese population. And that's not cool at all. And many of them are children. So the government sends that challenge, and then they are playing their parts. And I think the private side should play their parts as well. The private side means the startup, the investors, and what's most important is the community.
And when you have a country of 1 billion people, any problem a small problem for China is still the biggest version of that problem in the world. Often.
Yeah, it's 1.3 billion.
Okay.
So 0.3 billion can be another country.
Okay.
So it's in terms of population size, it's really, really a big challenge, and then that's why we think technology is the most powerful enabler to help us solve the systematic challenge.
So one of the things I really want to get into tonight is, from an Israeli standpoint, we don't know much about China. Right. We know, the country, but we don't know what it's like there. We don't know what life is like there. We don't know what the landscape, what the problems, the size of the problems. So I really want to get into, the vision for Chinese development in this industry, and how we may, not have it'd be hard for Israelis to fathom such a thing.
Right, so this is really goes back to why we founded Bits and Bytes last year. So Bits and Bytes was founded by China's second largest condiment company. They're in the food business. So condiment means we're making soy sauce, vinegar, tea tree oil, and some healthy snacks. So this is just the 1.0 of our group. And then the 2.0 version is that we internally incubated 2 organic farms, one in the northern side of China, one in the southern side of China, so that we can grow different vegetables and fruits. And we have our own online farmers market in Shanghai, We have China's first farm-to-table restaurant chain in Shanghai as well, but that's internally incubated. And we sense that it is working well, but it is too slow to solve all the challenges that we're facing right now in the whole supply chain, from farm to processing, to wholesale, to retail, to consumer education and consumer experience. So that's why we have Bits and Bytes as the 3.0 of the group. We open this platform to share all the resources that we have. We share our manufacturing experiences, all the challenges that we faced, and all the failure experience that we faced. We share how we penetrate the key accounts, the wholesale, the retail market. We have 60,000 consumer touch points in China. We share how we run the e-commerce platform. We share how we communicate with Chinese consumers. We share our consumer insights with all our startups. If you're doing B2B, we provided the opportunity for you to run pilot projects within our groups internally. Or if we don't have such resources, we'll connect you with our partners in China to provide you the opportunities to run pilot projects. So that's what we do. And the reason, the rationale is that we wanted to open up this platform to share all our resources, to attract the best talents, to bring their best product or technologies to help us solve the systematic challenges that we're facing right now.
Okay. I also want to get into your background, how you arrived at Bits and Bytes, how you came to this career path.
Right, so I've been always in the finance industry since graduation. I went to corporate banking and then I went to business school in Chicago and then migrated to investment banking.
Can we stop right there? How many people here have an MBA or are considering one? Maybe make some noise so the YouTube can hear it. What's your advice to people considering an MBA? How did the MBA affect your?
All right, so it's if you're a career switcher like me, wanted to switch from corporate banking to investment banking, that's a great opportunity that you should really go for MBA. If you work in the food industry, like our founder Matilda, she used to be in Unilever, but then she went to the MBA and switched to consultant. She went to BCG. And also for entrepreneurs, I think there are some great entrepreneur programs in the States, and then I saw some really outstanding entrepreneurs coming out from that business school.
So it's a good way to do a career pivot?
Yeah, I would say so.
It's also a nice way to network?
Yeah, that's where I met my partner.
And it's a good break?
It is, but probably not Chicago.
Not Chicago.
Too windy, too cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you came back to China?
Directly, yes.
You were living in Shanghai?
Yes, in Shanghai and Beijing.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been living in Beijing for 3 years.
And then you found your entrepreneurial spirit, right?
That's right. During one of the pitch in my investment banking career, I found one very interesting international school. So I discussed this with 2 other co-founders. We decided to jump into this and kick off our venture. So we raised $50 million US. That was 5 years ago, and then we invest in 4 projects. It's a education-focused fund.
Tell us a little bit about, you were telling me about how Shanghai, the growth in Shanghai.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
So Shanghai is amazing. If every 6 months, Shanghai is changing. So 13 years ago, when I first moved to Shanghai from Taiwan, there are only 3 subway lines. And now there are 17 or 18 or 19. I don't even know. It changes every 6 months, seriously.
We're going to wait probably 6 to 12 years for one line here in Tel Aviv.
Same in Taiwan, but that's the amazing part of China.
I'm glad you brought up Taiwan. So you were born in Taiwan.
Yeah, born and raised in Taiwan.
And so you know the differences, the clash between the conservative worldview of Taiwan business and the sort of disruption that's going on in Shanghai today. Can you speak about that?
It's on YouTube.
Okay.
But
Jack Ma also made this issue famous.
Right. So I watched that YouTube video clip of Jack Ma talking about innovation in Taiwan. In the end, he was quite disappointed. He said, "Wow, there are a bunch of gray-haired billionaires sitting down, but we're talking about innovation. Innovation is not from gray-haired guys." So that's quite different in China because China is really young, energetic, and bunch of entrepreneurs or serial entrepreneurs. They're at 30 to 45 years old, which is a great age to do innovation. They have the experience. They are energetic and they know what they are doing, and they know they can keep up the pace with the fast-changing world.
And today, the young people in Taiwan often are moving to China and looking for better things there.
Yeah, as far as I know, there are 300,000 Taiwanese living in Shanghai.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So I was really touched that Jack Ma, in the end, he decided to donate 100 million US dollar, not donate, just put down 100 million US dollar for Taiwanese entrepreneurs. And he did the same in Hong Kong, 100 million for people from Hong Kong.
And this is really touching on the profit plus purpose, which is a big part of Bits and Bytes and Shinho. Talk more about that and how, once you get to that level, it's not just about becoming rich, it's about more than that.
Yeah, it's about contributing or giving back something to the society. I've been doing international education investment for the past 5 years. The result was pretty okay. We gave 22.5 IR for our investors. So when we did Bits and Bytes, a lot of my PEVC friends, they actually laugh at me because in China people are looking for quick money. That's I think that's fair to say. So everybody knows food business might be really slow because there's crop cycle thing. So they were like, oh, a real VC guy shouldn't do food. But I think we definitely have a different view on that. First of all, it's a real demand and it's a real world problem. And I have a 4-year-old boy. I don't want to see him eating unhealthy food, unsafe or contaminated food. So that's the real world. That's a real problem I wanted to solve. And we believe that we can do something good, and it's sustainable. By sustainable, we discussed a lot about what is sustainability in Bits and Bytes. It means that it's a sustainable business, it's sustainable to the environment, and you have sustainable cash flow to support yourself. You are not running NGO.
And there's another part of this equation of why now, which is it's not just Shanghai that's changing so much, it's the new middle class in China and the changing tastes. Can you speak about that?
Well, I think that's more than Shanghai. The whole China has a really fast-growing middle class or even upper middle class. They are young, they're willing to spend. A lot of them either work abroad or living abroad or study abroad. So they know what they want. They when they return to China for several reasons, they still want to maintain the similar consumption behavior, but they cannot find a product. So these people are really willing to pay premium price for better products.
Yeah, as Jared would say, they're trying to grub. Okay, so also, what are your impressions of Israel from a food perspective? I know you had a pita yesterday.
Yeah. Schnitzel, I guess.
Schnitzel, that's
yes.
right, yeah. We put a German sourced breaded chicken into a pita, and that's our...
And that's 30 shekels. That surprised me. I was in London last week. I saw London is one of the most expensive cities in the world, but Tel Aviv just proved me wrong. Yeah. Yeah,
and you were telling us also about a Michelin star restaurant that you like in Shanghai, right?
In Shanghai, yeah. So as yes. So I was really into a Michelin 2-star restaurant that is 5-minute walk from our office, and it's they are known as the cheapest Michelin 2-star restaurant in the world.
How much does a meal cost there?
50 to 70 shekels per person.
Okay, 2 pitas.
Yep.
There's also some differences that we talked about as far as drinking culture and business in China and coffee culture and business in Tel Aviv. And you told us a really funny story. Can you tell us a funny job that exists in China?
You're talking about our portfolios?
No, about professional drinking in businesses there.
Oh. So there was one time, it wasn't when I was in Bits and Bytes. So I was doing the private equity in education business. I visited Shandong, which is northern side of China. And I was late for the lunch. It was in Qingdao. And then the rule is that if you're late, you have to drink 3 shots in a row. So my flight was late for 2 hours, and then I knew this coming, so I just drank 3 shots of Baijiu without eating anything, and then I woke up. I was in the hotel. I don't know what happened. Just blacked out.
And now that there are companies who are hiring drinkers to fix this problem.
Yeah. Many public companies hiring just not more than 1 man. It's a team, drinking team, to drink with different people.
Yeah, it's amazing. Here we drink coffee, so you don't really need to hire people.
It's awesome.
So let's talk about food tech. We talked a little bit about why now tastes are changing. What's going on in the landscape from a global perspective in food tech, and there are many accelerators.
There are many accelerators in the States and Europe, in Tel Aviv, but in China, we are the first one. But we hope that we are growing this community because it's really a global trend that China shouldn't be missing from this trend.
Right. And how do you pick the portfolio companies for Bits and Bytes?
So we opened the application on our website. So we pretty much just opened to the whole world. We received application from the States, from South America, from Europe, East Europe, Tel Aviv. We have 1 portfolio in Tel Aviv right now in cohort 2. And then, of course, China. And so it's really global. We received 260 applications this year. And right now we have 8 portfolios. We grouped them into 2 categories. One is the consumer packaged goods, and the other one is the technology projects. And we found a very interesting trend that the CPGs, the packaged goods, are usually from Chinese entrepreneurs because they simply know the consumers better. They know what they want, they know what kind of taste they like, and they know how to market their products. So we have 4 CPGs, and all of them are from China. We have 1 foreigner, but he speaks Chinese fluently, and he married a Chinese wife, so that doesn't count. In terms of technology projects, we found Chinese technology is still lagging, still behind. So that's why we look for. We wanted to bring in the teams that's outside of China. We wanted to bring their advanced technologies and providing them the massive market in China. And then we'll provide the opportunity for them to pilot around, to iterate, to find the best product market fit before they expand.
I read an interesting story about one of your portfolio companies, the Silkworm company.
Yep.
Can you tell us how he pitched and how that story?
The insect one, right?
Yes.
The silkworm.
Yes, exactly.
So that was entrepreneur. So he was doing insect food for pretty much his whole life. But then he was doing cricket outside of China. But when he came in, we told him cricket is not legally allowed to be a packaged goods in China. We can only do silkworm. And he doesn't even know what silkworm is. So, so we explained to him, you have to comply with the regulation. So you can only do silkworm. And then B, Silkworm is something that has 2,000 years history in China. It's a byproduct of the silk industry. So it's pretty high-end apparel. Only the rich people can afford silk apparel in the ancient times. So when you talk about silkworm to the Western world, it doesn't really work because it has the word worm. But in China, it's high-end. C is that we don't have to build the supply chain all from scratch. It was because China has that industry, so we're just recycling the product. Plus that China has a rooted culture of eating insects. So when we do the taste testing with our consumers, we try to deceive our consumers that this is not insect, this is just a random chip. But then when they ate it, they were like, oh, this is the flavor of my childhood. So that's the game changer. That means you don't have to do consumer education. You don't have to invest a lot of time and money to educate your consumers that, oh, this is a sustainable insect product. This is sustainable protein. We are selling that this is tasty and it's affordable. The price is very reasonable and this is super convenient.
So I mentioned to you yesterday that crickets may be kosher, and that was interesting for Israel because there's at least one startup in Israel doing crickets.
I think there are many.
Many,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And I actually reached out to Dror Tamir, who's a co-founder of Hargol. They were Steak Tsar, if anybody heard about them. And he told me that not only is it kosher, he's convinced, right? The kosher industry is not so convinced, but he said it's also halal, which means it's approved for Muslim dietary practices as well.
Wow.
So it's an interesting situation. Also, are you a fan of Nassim Taleb? Author, risk analysis. He wrote Black Swan, Skin in the Game.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about the minority, the vocal minority.
Yep.
If the big example he gives is that all of the drinks, the whole soda aisle in the United States is kosher, because there's 1% or 0.5% that will only drink kosher.
Mm-hmm.
They may as well make all the sodas kosher so that they don't lose that group, because if they lose that group, wherever there might be one person, they can't have any of it.
Yes, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, so interesting stuff. What about GMOs? Can you talk about what's going on in China, in Taiwan as well?
I think China currently has very limited GMO stuff because Chinese government banned it. So so in China, you cannot buy the GMO corns or potatoes simply because it was banned. But there are GMO papayas in China. Well, in Taiwan, I think 90% plus of the crops are GMO. Yeah.
And a lot of the GMO is about reducing pesticides, right?
Yep.
And tell us about China's pesticide situation. I thought it was a very interesting sort of solution that they've implemented.
That's right. Chinese government has been setting the cap to control that you cannot use more pesticides than right now. So a lot of the chemical companies, they're building their innovation center because they need the wisdom from the startups to help them to spray the pesticides more accurately and more smartly.
So China is the number one consumer of pesticides in the world?
I think so. We consume, we have 20% of the contaminated land. We consume 1/3 of the chemical fertilizer in the world, but we only have 7% of the world's arable land.
Okay.
So that's pretty.
To sort of promote a solution, they've capped the amount that can come in. It's a very, very interesting way to promote technological solutions.
That's right. So a lot of disruptive innovation is coming up soon. That's my expectation.
Okay. Can you tell us more about your portfolio companies? Any other ones that you'd like, or maybe about the Israeli portfolio company?
Oh, the Israeli one is actually a co-investment with the Kitchen Hub, where I see Amir is here. So we were really happy about this one. The team is Inspecto, and what they're doing is building a portable device to quickly inspect the pesticide residuals on vegetables or fruits. And the current solution is that you have to provide a sample to SGS lab in China. That costs you 14 days and then may cost you more than $500 per sample per item. While Inspecto can do this within 11 seconds.
Amazing.
So that's what makes us really excited. And when we presented to our investors in the investment committee, the first reaction was, oh, we have this problem. This is a real world problem. This is the pain point that we are suffering right now. So we welcome them.
And you also invested in a blockchain startup. Tell us about that.
So that was a team in Slovenia. So many people are talking about blockchain mainly in the fintech area, but we are few people. We are really excited to see the blockchain application can be applied in the food industry because we wanted to provide a transparent and traceable food supply chain to our consumers. So they were doing some pilot runs. They wanted to ship the European dairy products to China. And then a lot of people would have, the local consumers would have a lot of doubts whether they are providing the real European dairy products. And then the supply chain technology can allow the consumers not to trust all the marketing, all the promotions on the website, but just trust the system. So that's what we are looking for.
Interesting. And so to potential entrepreneurs who are looking for investment from Bits and Bytes, can you tell us what it's like to work with you? Are you a hands-on investment?
So I guess the most frequent question that I got asked outside of China is that, do you guys require us to be physically in your space? And the answer is no. We require you to be at where your customers are. So, but many times that in the middle of the cohorts, that the startups would ask, can we pay a visit to China because I found so many opportunities there. I wanted to work with my clients there. I wanted to see whether my product or services can meet their requirements. So it's usually the other way around. We don't require you to be here, but then eventually you would ask us to accommodate you here. So that's what's happening here.
So it's not always a necessity that the
It's not.
technology necessarily solves a Chinese problem.
Yeah.
It can also be a European or an American or...
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. But the only hard requirement we have is that eventually you must sell your product or service in China as one of your main markets. And I don't see that a major challenge to most of the startups.
Sure. And what are the benefits of your particular accelerator? We talked about how the product market fit is...
Yeah. It's really the Chinese consumer insights. We know the market really well. Our parent company has 26 years experience in China. We made a lot of mistakes. We have 11 brands. 11 brands make a significant amount of mistakes that we are never shy to share with you our failure experiences. And each of the Bits and Bytes core team members have startup experience. So we can share you our own experience, the mistakes that we make. The founder, Matilda Ho, she was a serial entrepreneur. She did an online farmers market in Shanghai. I raised my 15 million education fund. And then I can share you how you should raise money in China, and how you should talk to your investors, the do's and don'ts, and how you can exit your shares. And the program director, Eric Sun, he's also a serial entrepreneur. He did gaming. He had 2 apps, and then also exited.
So a lot of mentorship.
Yes.
As well. Questions from the audience. Anybody have anything they want to ask? Come on. Sure. Do you want to ask and I'll repeat the question?
Do you think that the regulation, because China is a state-owned economy, right, somehow. So if that regulation strengthens, that will foster the innovation. Do you think that is happening? Because the company has to come up to follow that regulation, right? So that is kind of like a fostering the innovation. Do you think that way, or is it?
Can you repeat the question before you answer?
So the question was, China is a highly regulated company, and then a lot of policies are from top-down policies making process. Would that foster innovation in China? So I can talk about the policy in the food space. So yes, the government is paving the way. The government wanted to promote modernized agriculture. It was written in the 13th five-year plan. The five-year plan is the most important thing in China. Everybody read it. What government wanted to do, what government wanted to promote, and they will seriously carry this out in the next 5 years. It's forward-looking, and then the latest five-year plan, the government just listed, China is going to promote modernized agriculture. And also for the dietary guideline, the government has been pushing to cut down 50% of the meat consumption in China. So that was pretty exciting. We saw the trend that all the developing countries, they just consume more and more animal protein, but that's doing harm to the environment. So that leads us to look for alternative proteins. By alternative proteins, I mean clean meat, the lab meat, or some people call artificial meat, plant-based protein, and insect-based protein. So right now we have insect-based protein in our portfolio, and we are aggressively looking for a plant-based protein and lab meat. Gradually, yes. So that's part of the reason why we're in Israel.
Let's share a mic for a little bit. So that's one technological challenge that you're openly searching for solutions. Are there other technological challenges that you're specifically looking for?
Yeah, like the shelf life thing has always been the major issue we wanted to tackle. Consumers are looking for fresh products. So a lot of the products require cold chain logistics. And the shelf life is sometimes under 30 days. And this is really challenging for retail stores or the e-commerce platforms. So how do we extend the shelf life of our product? Like the cold pressed juice, the HPP juice, it's a major challenge. And we're looking for innovative technologies to help us break through the shelf life extension.
Can you explain what HPP juice is?
Oh, can I explain what HPP juice is? HPP means high pressure processing. So traditionally, the most common way to kill the bacteria in your food is to use high temperature. It is effective to kill the bacteria, just at the same time, all the nutrients were killed as well. So, and the taste would turn bad. So now we have, it's actually not new technologies. The US has been using HPP since 1995. It's just, now it becomes a trend that Chinese consumers, they drink HPP coconut water, and they found it's so good, it's so close to the fresh coconut water. So once they try it, they won't go back. So they're looking for HPP products, but the only thing that we need to conquer is the shelf life.
What other advice do you have for people who are applying? What are you looking for? How do you judge a pitch or a deck or a one-pager?
So we received 260 applications this year so far, and this year is not ended yet. So definitely a lot of application. We see more and more coming. So we really cannot spend too much time on one single deck. So one pager is a very nice thing. It's powerful. We have this internally discussion. We like short pitch. So the reason why we invest in one of the portfolio is that we can explain what he's doing within 5 seconds. So let me just give you this example. It's a drinkable salad using HPP technology. And that's his pitch.
Drinkable salad.
Using HPP technology. So done. So, and just we read that line and we decided to go for it. So the next thing we do is to ask him to send us the samples. We drink it, tastes good, check. So that's the quickest investment decision for us. And we love this example. We hope that you can use the shortest sentence ever to explain what you're doing.
So a one-slide pitch.
Yeah, or maybe a 1-sentence, 2-sentence pitch.
That's great.
Yeah. So in terms of investment criteria, we generally look at the people, the product, and the market. And many times because we do accept pre-revenue companies, so many times they don't even have a product. So we will focus very much on the people or the team. We do not encourage a single founder startup. Sometimes we really like you, we like your product, but then if you're a single founder, we will encourage you to build up your team and then reapply. Because we simply think one man has limited resources and you need to find your co-founders to cover that up.
What's the time frame you're looking for return on investment? Is the typical 7-year?
Yes, so we admit that food investment takes more time. Okay. So we have this fund cycle is 7 plus 3, so 7 years investment horizon and 3-year exit period.
Okay, any more questions from the audience? Okay, so I'd like to sort of ask you a kind of a really open-ended question on how you see success for Bits and Bytes. What would be the definition of success for you?
So we try to invest in a broad range, from farm to manufacturing to wholesale retail and then the consumer end. It's a huge challenge. To be honest, a lot of application that when we receive it, we don't understand what the entrepreneur is talking about because it's advanced technology, and we love this because if we can understand what you're talking about, that means you're not innovative enough. So I wanted to make sure that Bits and Bytes has been updating its knowledge base to be the thought leader in China's food tech space. And then I just came up with this idea last week. So I guess I heard that from the Gates Foundation, that's when they are making impact investments, they also have an exit period. It's just 20 years, so they have longer fund cycle, but they do have the pressure to exit. And there's when they exit, the benchmark is they are not necessary. So when they exit the portfolio can grow without them. That means a real success. I think that's the goal we wanted to achieve.
Okay, if there's no other audience questions, I think we can wrap it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Joseph. It was very fun.